The book of Nahum is a prophetic message focused primarily on the impending destruction of Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire, known for its cruelty and oppression. Nahum begins by declaring the Lord's power, justice, and wrath against his enemies. God is portrayed as a jealous and avenging God who will not leave the guilty unpunished. The prophecy highlights God's sovereignty over all nations and his ability to bring down even the mightiest empires that oppose him. Nahum paints a vivid picture of Nineveh's coming judgment. The city, once feared for its strength and terror, is destined to be destroyed because of its violence, lies, and cruelty. The prophet describes the city as full of bloodshed and deceit, confident in its defenses yet blind to the fact that God's judgment will overcome them. This downfall is depicted with graphic imagery of destruction by fire, siege, and flood, symbolizing the overwhelming power of God's vengeance. The prophet emphasizes that Nineveh's destruction will be complete and irreversible. The city will be stripped of its wealth, power, and inhabitants. Its gates will be broken down, and its walls demolished. The lament over the fall of this once great city reflects the certainty and totality of God's judgment. Despite the city's arrogance and cruelty, its ruin is portrayed as a necessary act of divine justice. Nahum also addresses the suffering of those who had been oppressed by Nineveh's harsh rule. The prophecy offers comfort to Judah and other nations that had suffered under Assyrian domination, assuring them that their enemy will be judged and brought low. God's protection and justice for the oppressed are central themes, showing his care for the vulnerable and his commitment to righteousness. Throughout the book, the imagery of natural disasters, like storms and floods, underscores the unstoppable force of God's judgment. Nahum uses these metaphors to illustrate how Nineveh's downfall is as certain as the rising and falling of the tides. The city's pride and strength will be as fleeting as a passing storm, powerless against God's will. The book contrasts God's patience and mercy with his fierce wrath. While God is slow to anger and abounding in mercy, his justice will eventually prevail against persistent wickedness. This balance reassures believers that God's judgments are righteous and purposeful, not arbitrary, and that there is hope for repentance until the appointed time of judgment. Nahum's prophecy also serves as a warning to all nations and peoples about the consequences of pride, violence, and rebellion against God. The destruction of Nineveh stands as an example of what happens when a nation turns away from righteousness and oppresses others. The message is timeless, reminding readers of the importance of humility before God and justice among people. The book closes with an affirmation of God's might and justice. God is depicted as a fortress and protector for those who trust in him, contrasting the fate of the wicked. This final assurance encourages faithfulness and trust in God's ultimate plan, even amid turmoil and judgment. In summary, Nahum is a powerful oracle against Nineveh, highlighting God's justice, the certainty of divine judgment against oppression, and the hope for those who seek refuge in him. It portrays a God who is both merciful and just, who will punish evil and defend the oppressed, emphasizing that no earthly power can stand against his sovereign will.